Hey guys, it's birdayy again. Today I'm going to be doing another 50 Zoom live session. It'll probably be two parts of 30 minutes, so without further ado, I'll just get started. Regarding my HUD, most of the details should be written out underneath, so that should be fine. I think 6-4 is a little bit too weak to defend here. And against the short stacker, this would be a pretty good hand to cold 4-bet bluff because we have pretty decent blockers, but against that stack size, we're kind of committed if we 4-bet, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah. As usual, just tagging everyone I see. It's like a regular in the big blind. I think 10-7's a bit too weak to open. Standard spots. King 10, can't really do much versus UTG open. Still King 10-7. Versus a weaker player, I'm just going to be doing a one and done half pot bet. They call, I'm pretty much done with the hand. Okay, pretty good situation. I think 2 suited Broadway cards are good enough to raise for value on table 3, and I'm going to overcall King 10 versus that sizing. So we get a limp raise here. Generally readless, I give them a fair bit of respect. So I'm just going to fold. Jack 8, easy to defend. Don't see any point in betting King 10, so I'm going to check again. Check call, and again I don't really see any value in betting King 10, so hopefully I'm just going to try and get to showdown. Isolate 10 Jack, that's the weak player. And just going to see betting half pot. Pretty dry board, good for my range. He continues, 5's pretty bad cards barrel on. A lot of his calling range will be 5x, so just going to be giving up again. Hopefully I don't look too weak on video. Ace Jack, this guy is a relatively high fold to 3-bet over a small sample, so I'm just going to 3-bet this. Jack 8's interesting, if I want to be bluffing it or not. I don't think I do. He's still going to have a decent amount of King X, and I don't expect 50 NL people to be turning too many hands like 5x into a bluff. So, yeah. Just going to check back 7s and try and get to showdown. Not much we can do without a diamond when he bets. King Jack with 2 weaker players behind, I think we can open UTG. And this guy looks like he folds a lot to 3-bets, so I'm just going to 3-bet my Ace 8 suited. So I hope everyone's having a pretty good December. Usually there's a lot more weaker players on, so that's pretty good. However, a lot of the regs still need to go for like VPP goals, like the Supernova Elite grind and stuff, so you can get more volume in from regs. But usually they're playing pretty bad because they're playing like 8 tables of Zoom, so it's generally a good time to play poker though. Uh, 10 Jack, this guy folds 55% blind versus blind and 3-bets 15%, so I think it's a little bit too weak to open. When we turn the king, we've got a weaker play in the pot, so I'm just going to be betting pretty large for value. An interesting thing to add is that since there is this weaker player in the pot, Royal FU should have pretty much no value. Like, he should never be going for a check raise here, because he should just bet to guarantee his value from the weaker player. So we can pretty much bet with impunity. I think this is a pretty good hand to check back against regulars if you want to like have some flush draws in your range. But against the weaker player, I'm just going to be betting for value. Let's see. Say he raises. I don't see any point in 3-betting flops. I'm just going to call. Pretty decent turn for us. He bets again. Again, versus regulars, I'd probably just call and let them like barrel off their bluffs. But against weaker players, I just want to kind of get the money in now. So I'm just going to raise to 13. And with 2 weak regulars and 2 weaker players behind, I'm just going to raise. So he folded, so that's fine. Kind of sucks when a 4 spade comes on the river and we have to like, you know, a set would check fold. So Queen 10, just going to start barreling. Got a 3 straight. It's pretty hard for him to continue on this dry board. I don't really have to go very big with my range because it is so dry. Going to be barreling again with the Queen of Hearts. I think a lot of his range will just call once and then fold turn. A lot of ace highs and stuff. And I'm going to check 10-9, check call. So that's a pretty good card for our perceived bluffing range. We have a lot of backdoor hearts, more than him. And we also have some 7-8 combos, stuff like that. So I'm going to bet fairly large and expect him to fold anything but a Jack X. 10-9, I'm going to call again. King Queen, you can mix up between 3-betting or calling here. I generally like to have more stats before I start 3-betting it for value, so as a default I would just be calling. And I think it's a bit too strong to start bluffing. And a lot of his check-back range will be 5x heavy, so you don't want to go too crazy here. He bets, and I think I have a lot. Since I am checking like nearly all of my range here, I don't have to start worrying about defending King Queen, so it's fine to just fold. I think varying your opening ranges a lot depending on the people behind will be quite important to your win rate. You can raise just so wide UTG if you've got someone who's just gonna like, who's like a 30 BB loser or something. Jacks, you can check or bet for value. I'm just gonna start with a check. Queen X boards are generally pretty good for the caller's range. And then when he checks back, I'm just going to go 2 streets for value. That's an interesting card. I still think he has a lot of like 10-9, stuff like that might probably call a bet. So I'm just going to bet like 2/3 pot. And A6, I'm just going to be folding here. If he raises, it's going to be interesting because we have 2 jacks, but I'd probably just end up calling. So I'm a bit of a nit. Generally, 3-betting rivers for thin value isn't a great idea at these sorts. So in this situation, like I wouldn't want to be 3-betting ace-king. Mainly because there's 2 weaker players behind and they're going to come along with a lot of hands that we dominate. We can get a lot of value from them post-flop. So easy to defend with 5s, just going to check fold flop. He c-bets. I think with 2 overs and the king high flush draw, we should be continuing. Interesting card. Probably going to be calling turn, folding some rivers. We'll see. I think if he checks to us, he's going to be very ace of hearts X heavy. He barrels again, so I'm just going to be calling. And I don't really expect to be bluffed here very often, especially by a 1917 guy. So if he barrels here, I'm just going to be folding. I really don't expect ace-queen to be betting for value here. I think that would be just like insane. So, yeah. gonna fold. Don't love it though. King Queen you could squeeze or call. Or just call. Either's fine. That's a pretty interesting card, because I should have a lot more 3x than the other guys, because I'm getting such a good price pre-flop. But I think 3-way I'm just going to be giving up. Could possibly stab like overbet like a 3 river to try and get them off a chop. I'm just going to take my showdown. Ace 10, just going to call as a default. He folds a lot to 3-bets, which means it's bad to 3-bet this hand. I'm just going to make a nitty fold. Pretty easy call with Ace 10. Our range is going to be like... We're going to need to defend a lot here. That's interesting. He's pretty passive. He has a 1-1 till flop of 35, so I don't expect him to be turning hands into bluffs, so I'm just going to be betting for value. We get min 3-bet. Just going to make a pretty large 4-bet, so I can just get it in on the flop. I don't expect these guys to be folding very often. Okay. 10-9. I think you can call or 3-bet. Big blind's a little quite passive, so I'm just going to call. But you should be playing this hand. Again, 10s, I'm just going to call because we have a crazy guy on the button. And we can just fold that flop. Interesting. So he gets squeezed here. He squeezes around... Sorry if you can't see the pop-up, but you see he squeezes about 6.6%, which is pretty tight. So I'm not going to be too ecstatic if... Okay, so now it's just an easy fold. King 10 just decides to 3-bet because he has a high fold to 3-bet. Generally these low boards are good for the 3-betters range because we have like an uncapped overpair range. So I'm just going to start barreling and probably double barreling quite often depending on the turn. So Queen's generally pretty good. He shouldn't really have any Queen X apart from Ace Queen. That being said, I have a lot better hands that I could start barreling here. I have all spades, some straight draws, stuff like that. So I think if I start barreling all of my offsuit broadways, my range is just going to be way too weak and you can just start calling down really easily. Interesting. I think Jacks is a pretty light 4-bet get it in there, especially given this guy looks pretty tight. But yeah, interesting. Let's see. I think Ace 9's a bit too weak, too open. Seven, 5. Can't do much. I've been told I should try not to narrate the action too much. Someone told me that last video, so I'm going to be a bit less adept to do that. 5-7, I'm just going to overlimp. I don't think it's strong enough to isolate, but it plays like pretty well multi-way, so... it's just going to be pretty hard to play out of position in this situation, so I'm just going to be folding. So easy 3-bet with Ace King. I'm just going to fold. You could have called 4-bet though. Ace 7, I'm just going to be half potting against a weaker player. And I don't think I want to be c-betting Ace King here. I'm just going to check back Ace 7. 6 is a pretty good card for him. hopefully we can just get to showdown with ace king. It's a pretty good turn for his range there. Yeah, I'm just going to fold. Okay. Pretty light flop bill by him. So we can just note that. Floats, jack, six, deuce, club, with queen, nine, diamonds, big blind verse, button. You gotta make sure when you're noting to note positions, you know, it could just come in handy. 6-7's a really pretty hand, but unfortunately it's not going to play very well against that stack size. Just going to isolate the weaker player with ace jack. And queen jack I'm just going to fold. King 10, it's like a regular, just going to be folding. The open queen jack. And pretty good board, but we're pretty vulnerable, so I'm just going to be betting almost pot size. Our hand needs a fair bit of protection, and I don't expect them to be folding like literally any club at all. So we get 3-bet by, I think it's a weaker player. Yeah, so I'm just going to be calling. And if he c-bets here, we're pretty much done with the hand. He checks to us, I think I'm just going to be checking back. And hopefully just try and get to showdown. Try not to lose to fives. Hot odds call, I guess. Okay. I wasn't loving it, but they can come up with so many random hands there. 10-7, I think it's slightly too weak to call, so I'm just going to use it as a 3-bet. And ace-jack, I'm just going to be squeezing here. We've got pretty decent blockers. Interesting board. I don't think our hand is strong enough to see that for value, so I'm just going to be checking. Now we get called twice with ace-jack. So I'm just going to be giving up. It's a pretty decent turn. If you haven't seen my video on protecting checking ranges, it's probably worth checking out. King Jack, I'm just going to raise for value. And with an open ender, I'm just going to be c-betting. Just going to call when he raises, and I'm just going to be betting for value with 10-7. He still has quite a few ace of diamonds X combos, but I don't think he's going to be betting much if we check to him. Obviously just can't fold open ender for that price. Okay, this is interesting. Ace 10, I don't think it's strong enough to call, so I'm going to be using it as a 4-bet. I really want to call here. I don't think stopping when he sees from Canada. They're usually like really tight. But usually when they underbet rivers, they usually just have nothing. I should probably just stop trying to be a hero on video. Would have been cool if I called him here to 8-9 though. Oh. Easy call blind versus blind with ace 5. Just gonna call flop. He checks. Just gonna check back. And just check river. Okay. If you've noticed something between this and my previous videos, I've started raising a little bit bigger on the button. That's because I feel at 100 NL, a lot of regulars are probably over defending versus min raise. And by over defending, I mean they're probably playing correctly actually, but I think they play a little bit worse versus a different raise size. So that's my reasoning for that. Obviously, I had to change my ranges a little bit. I couldn't be going too crazy on the button because I'm risking more to steal. But yeah, I mean, it's something you can experiment with. There's so many different approaches to open raise sizings. Some guys 3.5x from all positions and they have their ranges. So generally at 50 NL I'll be stealing pretty wide because I still think people over defend, under defend rather. No, easy bet with the gut shot. Not much to say there. Looks like a weaker player, 2 weaker players behind, so I'm going to open Jack 9. I think it's a pretty standard open anyway. And 8s I'm just going to try and check to showdown. I think against that sizing we'll just peel once. And I don't think we can fold Jack 9 versus that 3-bet sizing. He pots river, which is interesting. I'm just going to fold. Generally a lot of weak players give away their hand via sizings, so, and Jack 9 I don't really expect this guy to be folding much. Yeah, we still have a smidgen of showdown value, so I think it's okay to check. Yeah, it's probably not folding that. We got limped into with 9-5. I'm just going to lead out for value. Still a lot of hands that will be calling that probably we won't be betting themselves because he seems to be quite passive. Ace 10 just going to give up. Slash check. So we flop a gutter here with the 10 of spades, so I'm just going to start betting. This guy has to play quite honestly with the player behind. Like, he can't really float that wide, so we can leverage quite a bit of fold equity. This guy raises, interesting. I think I'm just going to fold. Don't really want to get tangled up with the 17-12 guy when he check raises 3-way. King Jack at a table full of regs, probably just going to be folding. King Queen, I think it's fine to just call with the weaker player in the big blind. If there's one thing I can focus on this video, it's trying to focus on who's behind when you're making decisions. This guy folds 82% blind versus blind, so I'm going to be stealing in 10-5. And I don't think we can fold versus this sizing. This is going to get nasty. Okay, well, I'm going to start off with a call. This guy is so passive on turns, it's going to be really, really shitty if he bets turn. You guys might hate me for this, but I'm just going to fold. We're going to have a lot better hands to defend with here. Like, we're going to have a lot of suited stuff, and he's only barreling 33% of turns and squeezing like 4%, so it's pretty exploitable, but I think to exploit his nittiness, we should just be giving up there. And 10s I'm just going to try and get to showdown. Okay. Yeah, I hope I don't cop too much crap for that. What was it? Yeah. So also got a weaker player, so just going to be betting big because I have a strong hand. It's as simple as that. And 3s, I don't think I can do much against those stack sizes. 5s, If it was 100 big blinds deep, I'd probably call, but they just don't play very well. I think a lot of people that cold pocket pairs, like deuces to fives, they're kind of leaking money in a lot of areas, in my opinion. I think it's okay to call them at like 10 NL, but I think once you get to like 25 NL, 50 NL, it's going to be pretty hard to just hit a set and then print money. I think 9-7 plays fine as a 3-bet here. I'm going to be doing that. This guy's a little bit sticky. He folds around 54% to cut off in MP versus a 3-bet, so I think it's fine to use this as a 3-bet. It's generally like quite nice to use those types of hands because they don't interact too badly with their calling range. Like if you 3-bet like King Jack, you're going to be dominated by a lot of their continuing range, like Ace Jack, stuff like that. So that's why I prefer to 3-bet those sort of hands. They're just outside my calling range but have good barreling equity. So he gets squeezed by this, looks like a tighter player over a weak sample. I'm just going to be calling. I think 4-betting's a pretty decent mistake. I think folding could also be okay. I was going to bet my 10 for value. And he checks. I don't see any reason to bet. Just going to raise for value with my 10-5. Don't really have to go too big. Again, just no real reason to bet. We can just check and lose. That's a really interesting card. This guy has kings very often here. So hopefully we can just bink. Yeah. Wow. That is not the hands I expected. So we can just note it. Squeezes Ace-9 off. Big blind versus cutoff versus MP. And I think this is a pretty bad flat, in my opinion. I just think it's way too weak to be flatting in that position. He's just going to get destroyed. King 10 just going to, so cold call, King 10 suited, cut off verse, MP, call, big blind squeeze. Yeah. So he checks again. Probably just going to be betting with my 2 overs, and I'm going to be barreling any non-diamond. That's not a great river, because he still has like a lot of ace of diamonds X combos. So I'm just going to bet like half pot and hope to get a fold. Or he could just have a straight. Quite surprised he didn't see bet that, but can't be right all the time. King Jack, just gonna 3-bet to isolate him for value. So he calls. Over an extremely small sample, we have him folding 100% to C-bets. This is a great C-bet, but can't really play it if we check. And when he calls, don't think much of his calling range is going to be folding turns, so I'm just going to be giving up. I think with 2 overs, we should probably just peel here. You can sometimes have the best hand too. Okay, so we got own there. Just going to sit out the tables, and this should be enough for part 1, and I'll come back with part 2 in a minute, just after I play these hands. 5s, I'm just going to overcall, best the isolation. Now I think heads up would be a decent spot to turn our hand into a bluff with ace-3, but 3-way I just think it's a bit ambitious. And sometimes we can chop. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed part 1, and this was birdayy for CardRunners. Have a good day.